in the hope that somebody will come along and say, there's money in this, let's support Meghan and her as ever brand. What sparked it? I thought that was just such a disgrace. I thought she behaved so badly, and Harry too. And she targeted, there's no doubt she targeted Harry and found someone who was a childhood friend of his who could introduce.
Imagine this, a quiet morning in California. The sky is just waking up. Soft sunlight slowly fills the room. A cup of coffee still sits warm on the counter, and inside that enormous $14 million Montecito mansion, Meghan Markle's phone suddenly explodes. Alerts start popping nonstop, lighting the screen like sparks. One call rings, then another, and in that instant, everything begins to unravel quickly. Because Tom Bower has just released a serious revelation, and people cannot stop buzzing about it. What he's revealing this time is the kind of news that sends crisis teams into full panic and reportedly keeps Meghan completely out of public view, locked behind closed doors. This isn't just another royal headline. This is a full-scale public storm, and it's happening right now.
You write in the book, Harry must be nuts. This is one of the text messages his friends were sending around to each other after Meghan's first introduction to Harry's friends in 2017 during a shooty weekend at Sandringham. You know, Meghan's podcast has fallen off the charts. She's been criticized for the content. There are rumors that her As Ever launch wasn't as successful as she considered it. Critically, With Love Meghan was not a success.
Before we unpack what just came out and why these details reportedly have Meghan shaken, make sure you're subscribed and smash that like button. Turn on notifications as well, because this story is moving fast and you won't want to miss what's next. Now, let's jump straight in. Here's the truth about Tom Bower. He's not some random online voice chasing clicks from a laptop. He's a seasoned journalist with decades of experience taking on powerful people worldwide. We're talking major business figures, high-profile celebrities, and individuals whose influence shapes entire industries. Yes, that also includes the royal family.
It's happened over the long term, and it's not healthy to have these stories of rivalry, and to split the foundation was absolutely unnecessary.
Bower built his name by saying what others are scared to even suggest. When he targets someone, it's never gentle or easy. And when he writes about you, that's usually when things turn very uncomfortable. He doesn't soften stories and he doesn't protect images. He investigates pressures and keeps digging until buried facts come out. His previous book, Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors caused massive disruption. The reaction was instant and intense. Royal insiders were reportedly stunned. Headlines flooded the media, and conversations spread rapidly across news outlets and social platforms. The claims inside sent shockwaves that people are still discussing today.
You can't trust Meghan and Harry. That's the point. Even if you think you've got a deal, and that I don't believe that is possible, but if you think you have, the palace will be shocked that they will renege immediately because they have no advantage of reconciliation. They've got no advantage of ending their vendetta.
Many believed that was the peak, that Bower had already said everything he planned to say, but somehow he's gone even further now. And that's saying something given how much attention his last book created. This time, Bower is shining a light on a part of Meghan's past she may have hoped stayed buried. Her Hollywood years. Not the glossy highlights or red carpet moments, but the early struggle when she was auditioning, chasing roles, and trying to survive one of the toughest industries out there. Hollywood is famously ruthless. Talent alone rarely opens doors. You need timing, connections, and powerful backing. And according to Bower's findings, Meghan's rise may not have followed the smooth, natural path many believed. Claims are now surfacing about industry doors opening in unexpected ways. Who she could, so I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them didn't even reply. Opportunities reportedly appearing out of nowhere with little explanation. These details are raising eyebrows across entertainment circles because the story being told now looks very different from the one the public has heard for years. And this is where things turn explosive. Quiet rumors are spreading about the connections Meghan may have relied on to move up the ladder. The kind of ties that make people question how much of her success was raw talent versus who she knew. And it doesn't end there. Bower's sources are also sharing stories about people she allegedly left behind on her climb. Not literally stepping on anyone, but you understand the point. Former friends fading away. Colleagues suddenly cut off. People who helped early on, then disappeared once she advanced. That's the picture Bower presents. A person driven to succeed at any cost. And that journey from struggling actress to global figure, according to Tom, wasn't built on the clean, organic story many were sold.
Up their whole thing, went way too hard on we're victims, and they assessed the mood of their generation and America correctly in that we are lovers of victimhood. Yeah. But America did finally find a way to say, you know what, we love victims, but you two, we've just had a little too much.
Now things are reportedly getting even more complicated for Meghan because Bauer didn't stop with her Hollywood past. He went deeper. His claims suggest she didn't just rise through the ranks, she reshaped parts of her story along the way. When Prince Harry entered her life, everything changed. Meeting a real prince shifts a person's world in ways most people can't imagine. And according to Bauer, that's when Meghan allegedly began adjusting her backstory, refining details, polishing sections of her past to fit the royal narrative she was stepping into. It's like watching someone build a complete personal brand, the modern princess with a flawless journey. One passage reportedly suggests she reinvented large sections of her history to match that image. These weren't minor edits. These were major parts of who she claimed to be. The kind of revelations that make people question everything they thought they knew. But here's what hit her the hardest.
Just ludicrous. It's all about her. And there's an extraordinary interview with Serena Williams where the first 11 minutes is all about her and not about this phenomenal tennis
Serena
champion.
Williams.
I mean, so that's why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And who'd want to put herself or himself, as always, women. I mean, she does have this strange distrust, I think, of men.
When she realized just how detailed Bauer's information was, insiders say she completely panicked. Full meltdown mode. This wasn't surface-level gossip pulled from old interviews or public records. This was deeply personal information that could only come from people who actually knew her, people who had once been close. That's when real fear set in. She allegedly understood that someone she trusted had spoken to Tom Bauer. For someone whose image depends on total control, that's a nightmare scenario. Sources say Meghan struggles when she's not fully in charge of the narrative. She wants to know what's being said, when, and how it's framed. That's how she's operated for years. But with Bauer's book, she had no control at all, and she knew it. Reportedly, she even pushed her team to investigate who might have cooperated with him, trying to identify which old friends or associates had turned.
Never really intended to stay. Her guest list to her wedding showed her real ambition was to be a star in California.
That's how serious it became. These weren't random claims being thrown around. They were details only someone from her inner circle could provide. The information cut straight through the polished PR image she had spent years building. Every carefully crafted story about her rise, her struggles, her journey, suddenly came into question. And not by online trolls, but by someone with sources and documentation. Picture the feeling. Years spent shaping your narrative, controlling every interview, every appearance, every social post. Then someone steps in and starts pulling it apart, showing the world that things may not have happened exactly as described. The image Meghan guarded so fiercely began to crack, and once cracks appear, they're impossible to ignore. While she deals with this bombshell, let's talk about Harry.
Professionally, they've gone down dramatically, and I predicted it in the book, but even I would not have thought it'd be that accelerated. I think personally, they've separated their professional lives, but I think what's really a great problem for them now, as of in the last few weeks, is that Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from.
He's reportedly not calm either. Since rumors of Bauer's book began circulating, Harry has allegedly been on edge. And honestly, it's not hard to see why. Their California dream, that fresh start they promoted, hasn't unfolded as planned. With this book dropping, it feels like everything they worked to build is being tested in real time. Their U.S. ventures have struggled. That Netflix deal everyone hyped. Not exactly smooth.
The abdication happened because of the American Wallace. That was a catastrophe in a way, but we overcame it, and his successor, George VI, was a terrifically successful king. And of course, the Queen was phenomenally successful, and we'll see what happens.
Here's the real shock. For years, they have promoted authenticity, honesty, being real, and living with integrity. That has been the core of their public image. Through interviews, documentaries, and even books, they sold this message to the world. But now that narrative is starting to crack, and the timing could not be worse. With Bauer's book now reaching shelves, it is reportedly revealing a side of them that many people have never seen before. It's forcing serious questions about whether that authentic image was truly genuine or carefully constructed. And if the public begins to believe it was all staged, that's more than just bad publicity. That's the entire foundation falling apart. The timing couldn't be more damaging. Their California projects are already struggling. Public opinion has changed. The early excitement around their move to the United States has clearly faded. And now a book is releasing details they absolutely didn't want exposed at a moment when they can least handle another controversy. Harry understands how quickly situations like this can snowball. He's watched it happen before. One headline leads to another, and suddenly every move is watched closely. That's exactly what's happening now. Every interview, every comment, every public appearance is being judged through this new lens. For someone who stepped away from royal life searching for peace and freedom, this situation must feel incredibly overwhelming.
His interview with Oprah Winfrey. So that's a major breakthrough for Samantha Markle, for Thomas Markle.
Instead of getting a clean new beginning, they are suddenly back in the middle of a media firestorm. This time, there is no palace system around them to offer protection. And if you think things are already chaotic, wait until you hear what Bauer uncovered about Meghan's family life. This is where the story turns deeply personal, uncomfortable, and honestly quite sad. For years, the public has only heard Meghan's side of the story about her father, Thomas Markle. The explanation has always been straightforward. He broke her trust, arranged paparazzi photos, spoke to the media before the wedding, and because of that, she cut him out of her life. That version has been repeated in interviews, documentaries, and across the entire narrative. But according to Bauer, there may be more layers than what we've been shown. He raises difficult questions about how that relationship truly collapsed, questions that don't fully support the image of Meghan as the sole victim. Here's the reality. Controlling how people see you is powerful. If a story is framed well, most people will accept it, even if parts are missing. Sources claim Meghan understood this early on, and Bauer is reportedly revealing how the family conflict may have been shaped to fit her public image. One insider allegedly explained it by saying Meghan knew framing was everything, and if that meant adjusting details or emphasizing certain moments while leaving others out, that's what she did. This doesn't mean Thomas Markle was perfect. He made mistakes too, but it does suggest the version we've all heard might not be complete, and that's the key point. What Bauer seems to imply is that the breakdown between Meghan and her father may not have been entirely one-sided. It's possible that actions on both sides played a role in how things fell apart.
That Meghan was warmly welcomed in Britain, that everyone in the royal family tried their very, very hardest to make her feel at home and accommodate her, but that unfortunately Meghan only wanted to be the star and made it impossible for her and the royal family to collaborate.
And this is important because Meghan has made that family split a major part of her public identity. The image of someone misunderstood, betrayed, and abandoned by those who should have supported her. It's an emotional story. It encourages people to sympathize with her, defend her, and see her as the one who was wronged. But if that storyline begins to fall apart, if people start questioning whether parts were overstated or reshaped, then everything changes. Suddenly, you're looking at a public figure whose entire persona rests on a narrative that may not fully survive close examination, and this goes beyond her father. Bauer is reportedly examining her whole journey, from her early Hollywood struggles all the way to becoming a global name. Everyone recognizes the transformation. Actress trying to make it to Duchess, to international figure, and Bauer is asking uncomfortable questions. How much of that path was genuine and how much was carefully planned? Because the reality is this. Creating a public image requires effort, strategy, timing, and knowing exactly what to say and when to say it. Based on what's emerging, Meghan was reportedly very skilled at doing just that, perhaps even too skilled. The book hasn't even fully launched, yet the impact is already massive. Social media has erupted. Thousands of comments, viral threads, people revisiting old interviews and speeches. They're no longer just scrolling. They're dissecting every word Meghan has ever spoken. With this new context, critics are pulling up clips from years past, comparing them with what Bauer is now revealing, and the contradictions keep adding up. Side-by-side breakdowns are everywhere, pointing out mismatched details, unclear timelines, and stories that seem to change depending on the audience. And here's the surprising part. It's not only critics anymore. Even former supporters, the ones who once rushed to defend her online, are falling silent. Comment sections that once overflowed with praise are now filled with skepticism. People are asking, how much of this was actually true? Did she really experience all of that, or were parts exaggerated? That's a serious issue. These were the people who trusted her story, connected with her struggles, and believed she was authentic. Now they're questioning everything. And then there's the British media. They're having a full-blown frenzy. Tabloids are running non-stop headlines about hidden truths and a Duchess exposed. It feels like a return to early scandal days, but far more intense. This time, detailed information is emerging, not just rumors or guesses. The UK press has been waiting for something like this, and now they're digging into it relentlessly, article after article, breaking down what Bauer uncovered and what it could mean for Meghan's reputation.
She says that she didn't cooperate with Omid Scobie, and she said that she didn't consult anyone in writing the letter to her father.
And they are not holding back at all. Every small detail is being examined, debated, and picked apart. At the same time, behind closed doors inside that Montecito mansion, the atmosphere is reportedly extremely tense. Staff members are said to be walking carefully, unsure of what might erupt next. The stress, anxiety, and pressure are filling the entire house. PR teams have shifted into full crisis mode. Phones are ringing non-stop. Emergency meetings are being called one after another. Everyone is scrambling to figure out how to deal with a situation that seems to worsen by the hour. They are searching for a response, any way to limit the fallout. But here's the issue. When someone like Tom Bauer releases a book this detailed, there is only so much damage control possible. And Meghan herself, according to insiders, has confided to friends that she feels completely under siege, with attacks coming from every direction and nowhere to escape. She is reportedly feeling betrayed, exposed, and more vulnerable than she has in years. This is not just tabloid exaggeration. This is specific information that's causing people to question everything about her. The protective wall she built around herself, that carefully managed public image, is taking serious blows. And when you've spent years crafting a flawless version of yourself for the public, having it challenged like this has to be terrifying. Once people begin doubting one part of your story, they start doubting it all. Let's pull the curtain back on what was reportedly happening inside that Montecito mansion. As the news started spreading, things quickly turned ugly. Picture the early morning hours. Meghan's phone begins lighting up and doesn't stop. Alerts keep pouring in, calls and messages flooding from friends warning her about what's about to drop. According to insiders, the moment she understood what Bauer had uncovered, she completely broke down. This was full crisis mode. Publicists and crisis managers were called in immediately. Phones ringing endlessly, emergency meetings being scheduled on the spot. Everyone was rushing to understand the scope of the situation and how to respond, because this wasn't just another headline they could ignore. This was serious. Sources described the atmosphere as total chaos. One person said Meghan was pacing the house, close to tears, repeatedly asking, how could he possibly know all of this? She wasn't just angry.
One probably to serve and be silent. Well, that's the job of the royal family, that they're not there to campaign.
She was stunned, genuinely shocked that Bauer had managed to obtain such personal and detailed information. And here's what hit her the hardest. These weren't facts you could simply find online or pull from old news articles. This was deeply private material, the kind of information that only comes from people who truly knew her, people she had once been close to, people she trusted, perhaps even trusted deeply. That realization landed hard. The thought that someone from her inner circle, or possibly several people, had spoken to Tom Bauer and shared things she never wanted made public. That type of shock is not easy to shake. One insider compared it to watching someone realize their fortress was never as secure as they believed. All those barriers she built, all that careful control over her image, and yet information was still slipping through. But Bauer didn't stop with Hollywood contacts or family issues. He pushed further in ways that are deeply uncomfortable. Her childhood experiences, her education, her early career decisions, everything was reportedly examined closely. And what he uncovered is now causing people to question how accurate the polished version of Meghan that the public knows really is. Sources from her early years say the Meghan they knew back then is very different from the figure people see today. Not just in fame or status, but in how she described her background, the stories she shared about her formative years, and the image she created of who she was and what she endured. There appear to be significant gaps between what she presented and what those who were actually there remember. That's unsettling because when the base of your public image doesn't fully match reality, comparisons become dangerous. Old classmates begin speaking up. Details thought to be buried resurface. For Meghan, this represents everything she has tried to avoid. Losing control, losing her narrative, and perhaps worst of all, realizing that no matter how tightly you manage your image, the past eventually catches up. And here's where it becomes even more intense. Bauer's book contains far too much detail to be based solely on public sources. We're talking about personal stories, private conversations, moments behind closed doors. This isn't information you can simply search online. That means someone talked, likely more than one person. And that's exactly what is Meghan spiraling right now. Speculation about who cooperated is spreading fast. Some believe it was former staff or palace aides who felt mistreated during the royal years and wanted their side told. Others point to old Hollywood connections, friends, colleagues, people who may have been left behind once she rose to fame. The entertainment industry can be ruthless that way. But here's the theory that's gaining the most attention.
It's just one of those things everybody imagines. When somebody is pregnant close to you, you wonder what the child will look like.
What if someone from her own family actually spoke to Bauer? Just the thought of that is enough to send shockwaves through anyone who has meticulously controlled their public image. And when we talk about family, one name keeps coming up: Thomas Markle, her father. Now, it's not confirmed whether he actually provided information, but the level of detail in Bauer's book about their family interactions is making people question it. Because who else could possibly know these moments firsthand? Who else would remember all the specifics? Apparently, Meghan is thinking the same thing. Sources say she's been obsessively calling, asking questions, trying to figure out if her dad was one of the sources. If that's true, it's not just betrayal, it's something far deeper. Then there's Samantha, her half-sister. Around the time the book dropped, she started posting cryptic messages online, thanking certain people for finally bringing the story she's claimed all along to light. You don't need to be a detective to connect the dots. Meanwhile, Meghan is scrambling to figure out the leak and someone else is caught in the middle. Harry. Sources say he's torn. On one hand, he wants to protect his wife and is frustrated that this keeps happening. On the other, he's exhausted. Every few months, it's another scandal, another book, another reveal. Harry moved to California seeking a peaceful life, not a non-stop media circus. Insiders describe their home lately as tense, even cold, with stress lingering that neither can escape. When your past keeps being unearthed, people begin questioning everything about you, and the toll is real. And the worst part, this likely isn't over. Rumors suggest more documentaries and writers are digging into Meghan's Hollywood years. It's like the floodgates opened, and suddenly everyone wants to share their version of who she really is. For someone who spent years controlling every detail of her image, watching it unravel must be devastating. The past she worked so hard to leave behind isn't staying buried. It's resurfacing piece by piece, story by story, detail by detail, and there's nothing she can do to stop it. Here we are. Everything Meghan spent years building, careful image crafting, perfectly curated stories about who she is and where she came from is falling apart. And it's happening fast, faster than anyone expected. When your entire brand, your public persona, is built on a specific image, those cracks don't stay small, they take over everything. People aren't just questioning one story or one choice anymore, they're questioning it all. Every interview, every speech about authenticity, every carefully chosen statement, it's all being examined differently now. Her reputation, it's hanging by a thread, think about it. She went from being a celebrated figure with global influence, platforms, partnerships, and opportunities most people can only dream of, to having every speech, every title, every carefully built element of her public presence viewed through a completely different lens. Here's what really stands out. Meghan's toughest battle right now isn't Bauer. It isn't the British press. It isn't even the online critics dissecting every detail of her past. Her real fight is with something she cannot control, spin, reframe, or explain away: her past, or at least the version of it that's now coming to light, whether she likes it or not. She can hire the best PR teams, release statements, do all the damage control in the world. But if the foundation of your image doesn't match reality, there's only so much you can do. And the past she worked so hard to leave behind, to reshape to fit her narrative. It's not cooperating. It's not staying quiet. It's returning piece by piece, story by story, detail by detail. Maybe that's the lesson in trying to control your entire image. Eventually, something slips and the real story finds its way out. So what happens next? That's the question everyone is asking. Can she recover from this? Can her brand survive? Or is this the beginning of the end for Meghan Markle's carefully crafted image? What do you think? Has her image been ruined, or can she still bounce back? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this breakdown gave you a new perspective, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more deep dives like this. Don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to see this.